The neighbor girl who once promised we'd take the university entrance exam together fell in love with a spoiled rich kid instead. I told her to stay focused on her dreams, to remember who she used to be. She called me a simp. Then they kissed in the rain, rode off into the night like they were in some kind of movie, and eventually got expelled from school. After graduation, I made it into my dream university. The rich kid? His parents shipped him abroad. And her? One day she came back, pregnant, asking if I still loved her. Veronica got caught skipping class again. She's getting chewed out in the office. That's the third time this week, right? A classmate grinned as he whispered the gossip through the classroom window. My pen didn't stop moving. I was in the middle of a math problem, and I didn't even look up. If she broke the rules, then she had to face the consequences. The classmate scoffed, disappointed by my dry reaction. Man, back in the day, you and Veronica were unstoppable. Top 2 in the rankings. Childhood sweethearts straight out of a teen drama. Now look at you. Crazy how things change, huh? I ignored the nostalgic tone in his voice. I finished my solution, underlined the answer, capped my pen. Then knock knock. I looked up. A girl stood at my desk, frowning slightly. The math teacher wants to see you in the office. Probably about the competition results. I gave a quick nod, stood up, and as I passed the boy leaning against the window, I glanced at him once. For the record, I said flatly, Veronica and I were never a couple. Yeah, sure, he rolled his eyes. Everyone knows she's Diego's girl now. Must be nice, huh? Living off her looks while the rest of us are stuck cramming formulas. If only I were a woman. His muttering faded behind me as I walked down the hallway. When I pushed open the office door, the first thing I saw was Veronica. She stood stiffly in front of the homeroom teacher's desk, getting an earful. Her shoulder-length hair, once plain and natural, was now styled into trendy curls. Her ears sparkled with diamond studs, Diego's gift, apparently. She hadn't even pierced her ears before. She did it just for those earrings. Her expression was blank, her eyes showing no remorse. The homeroom teacher's stern face softened when she spotted me. Waken, here to see the math teacher. Maybe she'd said my name louder than she thought, because Veronica turned her head. It had been a long time since I'd seen her this close. Her face, once clean and natural, was now layered with makeup, like she was trying to hide who she used to be. I nodded quickly to the teacher. Yes. The middle-aged woman smiled warmly, little crinkles at the corners of her eyes. You got first place again in the math competition. The math teacher is over the moon. Relief washed through me. First place. Even though I'd been confident, hearing it out loud filled me with quiet joy. Another step closer to my dream university. As I walked past Veronica, a heavy floral perfume hit me. I sneezed. She paled slightly. Come on in, Waken, the math teacher called out. The award certificate is ready. Take it home and make your parents proud. He shut his water bottle, pulled the certificate from a drawer, and handed it to me, his face glowing with pride. Other teachers joined in, chiming with praise. But my mind drifted back to Veronica. The homeroom teacher sighed, looking at her. Veronica, look at yourself. You and Waken used to be equals, just 1 point apart in the rankings. For 2 years, you pushed each other to do better. What happened? High school is the most important time in your life. You don't want to live with regrets. Diego's family, sure, they have a safety net. But you? What do you have? Why that face? Don't you remember the dreams you had when you first came to school? You. The teacher's words cut off because Diego himself was now leaning casually against the office doorway. Teacher, you done? I'm here to take Veronica to lunch. I turned just in time to see her smile at him and reach for his hand. Even the math teacher sighed helplessly. Veronica will regret this. Will she? She once told me she never would. Veronica and I had known each other since birth. Literally. Same hospital, same month, next-door neighbors. We grew up side by side, always together. As kids, we turned everything into a game, especially school. Competing became our thing. Tests, quizzes, mock exams. We always pushed each other higher. The top spot switched between us every exam, but we never dropped below first and second. At 16, we both got into one of the city's best high schools. That day, standing at the school gates, the wind tugged at her loose hair, lifting strands to reveal the pale skin of her neck. She looked at me and smiled. "Waken, I heard students from this school get into city universities every year. 3 years from now, we'll be among them, right?" I smiled back, heart full of certainty. Her eyes were so clear, innocence, ambition, a bright vision of the future. "Of course," I said. I believed it with everything in me, that we'd keep moving forward together, chasing the same dream. But then, at the start of our 3rd year, Diego transferred into our class. Who was Diego? He was rich, handsome, carefree. That effortless charm that made everyone's eyes turn toward him. And he liked it. But it wasn't just any girl he was after. It was Veronica. One afternoon, I overheard him with his friends. "The girls who throw themselves at me, boring. The real fun is in someone like Veronica, the good girl." He leaned against his motorcycle, cigarette between his fingers, smirking. "Don't you think it's thrilling to slowly break down a good girl?" His friends laughed, praising his brilliance. At first, I brushed it off. Call it arrogance, call it naivete, but I believed Veronica would never fall for someone like him. Someone with nothing but money and a face. I was wrong. So wrong. The first time I saw him sprawled across her desk, flipping lazily through her papers, something in me burned. "Diego, this isn't right," I said firmly. He looked up, eyes full of disdain. "What? The class rep's handling this too now." I opened my mouth to argue, but then I felt a tug at my shirt. "Veronica." "It's fine, Waken," she said softly. "Maybe he just needs something from me." Her ears turned faintly pink. And from that moment, it was like watching some cliché high school drama play out in real life. Diego, the rebellious heartthrob. Veronica, the disciplined good girl. She was drawn to a fire she'd never known. And every time I tried to pull her back, I only looked more like the jealous fool in their story. It all came to a head on Diego's birthday. It landed on the same day as our midterm exams in senior year. That morning, walking to school, I noticed Veronica seemed distracted. She'd barely spoken to me ever since Diego appeared. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but the words stuck in my throat. Later that day, after finishing my exam, I heard whispers. Veronica had left halfway through. No one knew where she went. That night, Diego posted on social media. There she was, with him, on the rooftop of the city's tallest building, kissing him under the stars. It looked magical. But the cost? The girl who once fought me for first place had now fallen to the bottom of the rankings. New Year's Eve. I heard shouting from Uncle B's house next door. At our dinner table, unease gnawed at me. My mom noticed. "Why don't you take these New Year's gifts to Uncle B's?" she said gently. Grateful for the excuse, I grabbed the box and stepped into the cold night. Their front door was slightly ajar. As I approached, I heard Veronica's voice, raw with anger. Study. Is that all you care about? Have you ever cared about me? Ever since Mom died, have you looked after me even once? In your eyes, I'm worthless unless I'm studying. Diego is different. At least he loves me." Before I could process her words, the door swung open. Veronica stood there, face streaked with tears. We froze. Then she quickly looked away, shoved past me, and stormed down the stairs. Inside, Uncle B sat slumped on the couch, pale and tired, looking like he had aged years overnight. I placed the gift box down, then, without hesitation, ran after her. Too late. By the time I reached the street, Veronica was already in Diego's car, arms wrapped around his neck, kissing him. It felt like being thrown into ice water. I wanted to scream, to tell her she was wrong, that she was loved. Uncle B loved her, even if he never said it right. A father's love is real. It hides behind silence, but it never leaves. But as Diego's car drove off, I made myself a quiet promise. No matter what, I'd try. I couldn't just stand by and watch her destroy herself. That winter break, I barely saw her, but I kept messaging. I wanted her to know she still had people who cared. She never replied. And then, first day of the final semester, I saw something that broke me more than I expected. Screenshots of every message I'd sent her, taped across the school bulletin board. Veronica stood right there beside Diego, his arm around her waist, watching coldly as classmates whispered and laughed. Even though spring was near, I felt frozen. "Waken," Diego sneered. "I know Veronica's pretty, but did you really have to throw yourself at her? Nobody told you to chase someone else's girlfriend." His words didn't sting, not as much as her silence. I searched her eyes, desperate for a trace of the girl I used to know. But she had changed. No glasses, sharper makeup, and when she looked at me, there was nothing left. "Veronica," I said quietly, "do you feel the same way?" She didn't answer, just leaned deeper into Diego's side. "You don't have to get love this way," I pleaded. "Is this really the kind of love you want? Even without Diego, there's Uncle B, my parents, me. We all love you. We just want you happy. I'm still here. Did you think I disappeared?" Before I could finish, Diego shoved her aside and grabbed my collar. His face twisted in rage, ready to punch. But I stayed calm. "Diego," I said, "can you honestly say you love her? If you truly loved Veronica, you'd want her to have a future, a better one, not one where she gets dragged down with you." He let go of me, laughed bitterly, and turned away. "Veronica," he said, "am I dragging you down?" "No," she replied, her voice flat. "You're not. I like him. I want to be with him. What does that have to do with you?" Her voice was cold, steady, as if this had always been her truth. "I like my life now. I like that every day is different. Do you think your way, living like an old man during the best years of his life, is the only way to live without regrets?" She stepped forward. "You've made your life boring. Fine, but don't drag me down with you." It stung more than I wanted to admit. "So what about your dreams?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Veronica took Diego's hand, eyes shining with devotion. "As long as I have him, that's enough." As the crowd started to fade, I stood frozen, watching her walk away. And then I turned and walked down a completely different path. After that day, I never brought up her name again, never checked her grades. If this was the life she chose, I'd let her chase it with everything she had. "Hey, Joaquin," my desk mate whispered one afternoon. I heard Veronica and Diego were breaking up again. The classroom was quiet, just the sound of pens scribbling furiously on paper. Everyone was focused, hoping to crush the college entrance exams. In such a high-pressure environment, gossip like this was gold. An emotional release. I glanced up. Our homeroom teacher was watching from the podium. "If you don't want to get called out after class, keep your mouth shut," I muttered. He flinched and buried himself back in his notes. Veronica and Diego breaking up wasn't news. He was a rich playboy. He never lacked women. And Veronica couldn't tolerate betrayal. Fights, jealousy, breakups, makeups, they were stuck in that cycle. But what I didn't expect was for Veronica to actually show up that day. She wasn't in uniform. Didn't even pretend she came to study. She stormed past our classroom, heading straight for the one next door. The tension was immediate. Curious classmates followed. Even I got dragged along. From the back of the other classroom, we heard a scream. "You! How dare you flirt with my boyfriend?" There was Veronica, grabbing another girl by the hair and yanking her out of her chair. My desk mate gasped beside me. "Whoa, she's a delinquent now." I chuckled, eyes falling on the oversized earrings swinging wildly from her ears. What a reckless youth, I thought. Then the girl she was dragging lifted her head, and we all froze. It was the school beauty queen. Back when Diego first arrived, she tried to chase him. But he wasn't interested. She'd backed off, humiliated. But now, looking at this scene, had she and Diego reconnected in secret? "Let go of me," Veronica screamed, her voice rising in panic as she kicked her legs furiously on the ground. Her frustration was clear, but nothing seemed to stop her. But Veronica's rage was a storm no one dared challenge. In the heat of the moment, her hand shot up as if to slap the beauty queen across the face. "Veronica, stop it." Diego's angry voice cut through the chaos from behind. Our classmates, always alert to drama, immediately parted, creating space for him to reach her. I too was dragged into the crowd by my desk mate, standing off to the side and watching as Diego marched over and pulled Veronica away from the scene. Veronica stared at Diego in shock, her tears shimmering as they welled up in her eyes. "Diego, you're yelling at me for her?" she sobbed, her voice trembling. "Enough, Veronica. Haven't you had enough?" Diego's voice was laced with frustration. "Is there anyone else but you on my side?" He reached for her hand, a plea in his eyes. "Come on, let's go. Don't embarrass yourself here. I'll buy you that bag you wanted," he added softly, wiping a tear from her cheek. But Veronica jerked away, angry and hurt. Without a word, she ran out of the classroom, her movements swift and defiant. Diego, though, chased after her. We all stood there in silence, eyes on the door, waiting for what would come next. Outside, through the curtain of rain, we saw them. Veronica running ahead and Diego hot on her heels. Then, in a dramatic twist, the two of them collided in a stormy embrace. Veronica pushing him away, but Diego holding on tight. The kiss followed soon after. A moment of raw emotion, drenched in both rain and tension. The crowd gasped, some murmuring, others too stunned to speak. The spectacle was only broken when our homeroom teacher arrived, and the principal, no less drenched, led the two rain-soaked lovebirds away. I returned to my seat, trying to refocus on my unfinished exam. But my desk mate turned to me, eager for an opinion. "Well, what do you think of that?" I stared at my exam paper, trying to make sense of the chaos I'd just witnessed. "Two fools in love," I muttered. "They're crazy." My desk mate chuckled. "Man, you're the class genius. That's spot on." The aftermath wasn't pretty. Veronica and Diego, once stars of the class, now found themselves on the receiving end of consequences. Diego got off relatively easy with just a phone call from his dad. But for Veronica, things were different. Uncle B had to show up in person. I didn't know exactly what had been said in the principal's office, but later, as I was heading down the hallway to hand in my homework, I ran into Uncle B, the man who had always been full of life, always there for Veronica, and me, now seemed a shadow of himself. The years had weighed on him, his shoulders slumped, his usual energy replaced by a deep exhaustion. When he saw me, he smiled faintly, a shy, almost apologetic look on his face. "Waken. It's been a while." "Uncle B," I said, offering him a small smile. He noticed the paper in my hand. "Another perfect score, I see. You've always been a great student, never causing your parents any trouble." He spoke softly, his words carrying a quiet pride. "Veronica's dedication to her studies all these years, a lot of it's thanks to you." I shrugged it off. "Veronica's naturally smart." "Yes, she is," he agreed, his voice tinged with both affection and sadness. "She takes after her mother. But now what happened to her?" His voice trailed off, and for a moment, his cloudy eyes filled with unshed tears. I stood there, unsure how to comfort him, awkward in my silence. But Uncle B quickly regained his composure, patting me on the shoulder. "Do well on your college entrance exams, Joaquin. Go to Beijing. Make your parents proud." I nodded, watching him walk away, a small, aging figure in the hallway. It struck me how much he had changed. The man who used to lift both Veronica and me up from extracurriculars now seemed broken, weighed down by the choices of his niece. And of all the people affected by Veronica's transformation, Uncle B seemed to be the one who'd suffered the most. Maybe it was the spectacle they'd created that day, or maybe it was the sheer audacity of their actions. But after that incident, Veronica and Diego actually started showing up to school again. But attending classes, that was a different matter altogether. They were more interested in creating chaos than focusing on their studies. Our homeroom teacher, trying to be considerate, moved them to the back of the classroom. Once the teacher's favorites, Veronica and Diego were now the subjects of scorn from their peers. "Waken," Diego called out one day, his voice breaking through my concentration. "Aren't you bored from studying all the time? Why don't you come race with us after school?" I didn't even bother looking up. Not interested. Find someone else. But instead of taking the hint, Diego snatched the pen from my hands. I sighed, forced to look at him. His face was arrogant, the same smug expression I'd grown so used to seeing. He glanced at my exam paper, his lip curling in disdain. What's the point of being good at school? You'll just end up working for my family's company anyway. He leaned in closer, sneering. Even if I'm a waste of space, I'm the kind of waste you'll never reach. Everyone calls you a genius, a top student. But so what? In the end, I'm still better than you. I sat there, hearing him out, before speaking calmly. It's pitiful. Everything you have, someone else gave it to you. If it weren't for your dad, no one would care about you. And yet you act so smug, looking down on people who actually work for their success. His face twisted in anger, his hands clenched into fists. But I didn't back down. Ask your dad. If he were running the company alone, would it be as successful as it is now? Would he dare say yes? He didn't respond right away, but his face was red with rage. I stood up, unbothered, and took back my pen. Diego, I said softly. I'll succeed no matter where I go. Can you say the same? He was about to lash out, his fist flying toward me, but I caught it effortlessly with one hand, holding it firm. See? I told you. Calling you a waste is giving you too much credit. I released his hand, letting him stumble backward. Veronica rushed to catch him, offering a sympathetic glance. So what? Diego sneered. Veronica still likes me. I just sat down and flipped open my textbook. She can love whoever she wants. It's none of my business. Diego scoffed, but I didn't care. Veronica could do whatever she wanted. It was clear she wasn't worth fighting over. Don't act like you don't care, he taunted. Everyone knows you used to like Veronica. I met Veronica's eyes and said firmly, I never liked her. The words came out cold, but they were true. I hadn't expected my words to have any effect on Veronica. But I was wrong. Maybe it was because deep down I still had feelings for her, feelings I'd never fully admitted to myself. Back in elementary school, I had started Taekwondo because of her. I wanted to protect her after we encountered a child trafficker. And even though she didn't need my protection, I still wanted to be there for her. But I never told her any of this. Not then, and not now. That evening, as I was returning home, I saw Veronica standing on my doorstep. She was wearing a black spaghetti-strap dress, far too mature for her age. And her face was painted with red lipstick. She just stood there looking at me. I was caught off guard. Do you need something? I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. Her voice was soft but nervous. Waken, did you really never like me? I stood there, unsure of what to say. The motion sensor light flickered off, plunging us into darkness. I hesitated before answering. No. Her voice rose in disbelief. That's impossible. When the light flickered back on, I saw the shock in her eyes. She looked hurt. I brushed past her, unlocking the door and preparing to go inside. Does it matter? Would knowing I like you make you feel better? My tone was cold, distant. Veronica trailed off, unsure of what to say. Before she could finish, a car horn blared from downstairs. Diego's waiting for you, isn't he? I said flatly. You should go. Don't bother me while I study. Frustrated, she stomped her foot. Waken. Why are you always so boring? Study, 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 is that all you know? I turned back to her, confused. I think I'm doing just fine. The world in books is just as brilliant as your world. She turned away, heading toward the car. We only get to be 18 once. Don't you want to see how bright your 18 can be? Her words lingered in the air, but I stood resolute. It's my choice to live this way, I said quietly, closing the door behind me. But Veronica was already gone, disappearing into the night. It was June, the heat of summer, the time for all of us to face the college entrance exam. I had everything ready, my bag packed, my supplies in hand. I opened the door just like any other day. Mom, Dad, I'm heading out. Take care, my mother called, holding a fried dough stick, her smile warm and sincere. My dad stood behind her, his face full of pride. Good luck, son. I nodded, then looked across the street at the closed door of Veronica's house. It was exam day. I had imagined it so many times, excitement, anxiety, but the reality was something else. I thought Veronica would be there. But the truth was, the people I thought would always be by my side were already long gone. When I sat down for the test, I felt nothing but calm, like the stillness of a lake. I had lived up to my youth. I had lived up to myself. After the exam came the graduation banquet. The classmates who once couldn't wait to leave were now crying, hugging, clinging to the memories of high school. Veronica and Diego didn't attend. As I sat at the table eating, our homeroom teacher walked over with 2 glasses of red wine, handing me one. A little drink won't hurt. She was a bit flushed from the wine, her tone lighter than usual. I remember when you and Veronica walked in together on the first day of freshman year. The principal told me you two were the stars of this class. I stared at my drink, lost in thought. The stars had long since faded. I couldn't help but think back to those days, a boy and a girl, the main characters of a high school novel. I always thought maybe, just maybe, they'd end up like the typical romance story. But in reality, one and Veronica were focused on something else, their studies. I'd always worried about them, worried high school would lead them to feelings that might distract them from their goals. But what surprised me was how much they pushed each other, so much that they left everyone else behind. The competition was fierce, but instead of tearing them apart, it drove them forward. Sometimes I wondered if they'd studied themselves into a corner, so wrapped up in their work that they lost sight of everything else. Still, I thought they'd walk this path together, side by side, forever. Who could have predicted Veronica would drift so far from everything they worked for? I knew it wasn't easy for him. He'd grown up with her. They were close, like siblings. Watching her take a path so foreign to what they once shared must have hurt more than anything. But he needed to understand something. "Walkin'," I said gently, "you can feel regret for her, but you can't resent her. We all have the right to choose our path. You can't control what she does, only how you respond." He looked at me, eyes heavy with unsaid things. "I understand," he muttered, taking a sip of the bitter wine in his glass. And with that, I knew it was the last lesson I could give him, an important one, but one still so difficult for him to truly accept. Summer came, and with it, everything seemed the same. I got my driver's license, volunteered, went on a trip with friends, the usual things. But Veronica was nowhere to be found on social media. When the exam results came in, I was nervous. My score wasn't listed anywhere. Not until my parents got a call from Beijing's admissions office did they finally believe it. I'd been accepted into the country's top university. The moment the news hit, seeing my parents' tears and smiles hit me too. All the late nights, all the coffee, the hours studying, every sacrifice. It was worth it. I had done it. But amidst the congratulations, something caught my eye. A few pairs of clear eyes in the crowd. Eyes that reminded me of Veronica's. Eyes that once held so much promise, now lost. A reporter asked if I had anything to say. For a moment, I hesitated. Then I tugged at my sleeve, stood taller, and spoke. Youth isn't just about wild abandon. It's about living in the moment, gaining knowledge, and writing your own story. You only get one shot at youth. Don't waste it. In that moment, I could almost see my 16-year-old self, hunched over, books scattered everywhere. I'd fulfilled the dream I had back then. After the excitement faded and I returned home, my mother gave me difficult news. Veronica had failed her exams. She fainted during the final test and was rushed to the hospital. Her score wasn't enough for a university. She could only attend a vocational college. Vocational college. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I had never once imagined that path for Veronica. I reached for my phone, ready to message her. But as my fingers hovered over the screen, I realized I didn't know what to say. That night, shouting woke me. I rushed outside to find my parents already in the hallway. Veronica's parents' door was open. Uncle B, barefoot and disheveled, paced the living room. Veronica ran off after Diego broke up with her, my father explained quietly. It's late. She shouldn't be out there alone. I grabbed my phone and went to find her. I found Veronica outside a bar. Diego was with another girl, his arm around her. Veronica, shattered, sat on the ground, her eyes full of tears. "I'm done with you," Diego yelled, tossing a card in her face. "Take the money and go." Veronica didn't move. She just stared at the card, the last shred of hope slipping away. I walked over trying to help her, but she shoved me away. "Don't touch me," she spat. "I don't need your pity, walkin'. You don't understand. I did nothing wrong. At least I loved with everything I had." Her voice trembled, the words echoing in the night air. As I watched her disappear into the darkness, I wasn't sure if she was speaking to me or to herself. In September, I boarded a plane to Beijing. Before I left, Veronica called. Her voice was hoarse, desperate. "1. I'm pregnant." The pieces fell into place. Her fainting during the exam. It all made sense. I didn't stop walking. My voice was calm when I spoke, not cold, just distant. "Veronica, you had your chance. You lived your youth. Now I have my future to focus on. We're not on the same path anymore." I hung up and blocked her number. I had my own life to live. University in Beijing was everything I'd hoped for. Ping University wasn't just a place to study. It became my world. It felt right. It was fulfilling. But 4 years passed quickly. During my second year of graduate school, I heard the Liu family had gone bankrupt. Diego's disastrous handling of the business had ruined them. And to make matters worse, the workers he'd always belittled turned against him. I didn't feel sorry for him. By the time I finished my master's degree, I returned home to start my own business. Uncle B's family had moved away. My mother told me Veronica hadn't had an abortion. She'd had the baby and stayed behind, clinging to the hope she and Diego would work things out. But it was too late. A few years later, my business was thriving. We were hiring. When I saw Diego's name on the list of interviewees, I was surprised. He walked in, his face darkened, but he held it together. "Mr. Lin," he greeted me stiffly. I smiled, gestured for him to sit. The interview lasted barely 2 minutes before I realized he had nothing to offer. Predictably, he wasn't qualified. As he left, my assistant leaned in. "I heard he used to be the young master of the Liu family. After everything fell apart, he's been struggling. A kid, an uneducated wife, life sure does change." I took a sip of tea. "Yes, life is full of surprises," I said. As I continued reviewing resumes, I thought about something else. Life had a way of turning upside down, and we all had to learn to rise from it. "Let's keep these too," I said, handing a pair of resumes to my assistant. People need someone to hold an umbrella for them sometimes.